You're listening to the OverFunctioning Leadership Podcast, learning leadership concepts through life experience. Hello, friends. Welcome to another OverFunctioning Leadership. I am Alex.
John.
Hi, Alex and John. I'm Zach.
Hey, how you doing?
Great, thank you.
Well, we're actually going to be talking about honor today, something that I have been more and more attracted to in the past, couple months here. Just something from reading some books by actually Brandon Sanderson. One called Way of Kings, another called Words of Radiance, and another one called Oathbringer. And a novella called Edge Dancer. Anyways, kind of an old virtue, I would say, and we're going to flesh that out a little bit. But honor is something that's been on my mind, and so now I am going to put it on your mind. You have no choice. It is my guiding principle.
Well, the Brian Sanderson, is that his name, Billy?
Brandon.
Brandon. Yeah. One of the books that Alex is speaking of is called Way of Kings. And Alex bought me the Way of Kings for not being nice. It's about 1,200 pages long. I'm on page 10, and I'm stuck. So I'm looking forward to the honor talk tonight, which will be kind of a Cliff Notes version for me for the book. At least I'm hoping.
No. Sorry.
You're going to have to just get past that.
Yeah, you just got to power through. Anyways, as far as recap, I did mention guiding principles. That was our last podcast. John, what was that about?
We talked about guiding principles, and those are beliefs that a person thinks through really carefully and considers the perspective of others when formulating guiding principles. Those principles are not prone to group pressure, but can be changed with new information. And a person who develops guiding principles then takes those beliefs and puts them into action. It's important for leaders of families and any organization to communicate the guiding principles with the followers or those that are part of the system, and to then act on those in a consistent way. But to also expect that some are not going to be fond of those guiding principles and still to stay connected to those individuals while defining self with those guiding principles. But again, being open to the perspectives of others and realizing they may need to change. So, but cultivating those is pretty important. It brings peace to a leader and helps a leader to lead better.
So go home and make a manifesto. Get your friends to sign it and make a mural of everybody signing it, and then make a country.
That's a place to start. And then enter the Olympics.
I like the logical progression of that.
Sure.
I'm going to have to find some athletic friends then if this is where this all ends up.
Yes.
It is, but if your country's small enough, I think you could host the Olympics, then you can go automatically. So you don't even have to have athletic people.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you just get that odd little kid in the back of your science class from 10th grade, and you say, hey, you want to do the javelin throw?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what you do. Anyways, I believe it is Fable time. And with Fable time, if you could go ahead and warm up your paraffin wax and dip your toes in, exfoliate, a little exfoliation.
Yeah.
Yes. Actually, I'm going to share a fable tonight that has to do with honor. And so we're going to be dancing around and talking about honor. So my fable has a lot to do with that. In high school and growing up, I wouldn't say that I was patriotic. Maybe I was, I guess. I don't know. I don't really remember. But I don't really think too much about veterans and anything like that. And then I went to something called Buckeye Boys State, which, to my recollection, it was a terrible week. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I had a terrible time. It was like, if you want to become a politician, if you're interested in politics, you would go to this, to this week-long camp. Well,
What was it called?
Buckeye Boys State.
Okay. A state?
No, state.
They still have it. It still exists.
Yeah, it still exists.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it was a great program if you like politics. And I had no interest. Yet one of my guidance counselors said I should go because it would look good on my resume. So anyway, so I went, and it was a weird week. A lot of weird things happened, and I'm not going to tell you any of those weird things. That's for that. Maybe we'll save that for the YouTube.
Disappointing.
Why am I here?
I don't know. Look at your guiding principles and figure it out. As far as it gets down to the end of the week, and it's the last day we're there, and I've really, I did not have a good week. Let's just say I was just like, get me the heck out of here. I'm done with being here. And I didn't care any more about politics than I did before. Actually, I probably cared less. And there came a part in the program at the end where they're like, hey, we need everybody to stand up. I think we were standing up. I don't know. And they're like, we're going to take the time right now and read off the names of people who've gone to Buckeye Boy State and who have died in the military for our country. And so we're standing there, and they must have been reading names for like 20, 30 minutes. And it got about halfway through, and I was just looking at the flag, and I just started crying. And it was like it finally hit me. I didn't have this big emotional week where I was like, oh my gosh, my anxiety, I just want to go home. It was just like, I hate this week because I'm bored. But it came to a point where I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I should like be caring about the veterans who have fought for our country, and maybe I should be honoring to them with the way that I approach, when I stand for the flag, or when I see somebody at the store, at a restaurant, somebody within the military. If I know somebody's in the military, maybe I should like honor them more than I have in the past. And so it's kind of a glimpse into honor. Now, I think before we get an honor discussion, which we will be having here, is to look at some definitions of honor. And so that way it makes a little bit of sense, because I don't know about you guys, but it is definitely not a word that I don't see tossing around a whole lot. I mean, Honor Society, National Honor Society, but what does that mean? You get a lot of hours, and you're smart.
You get a tassel on your hat at graduation.
You get that street cred.
That too.
If people are talking about you around the water cooler. And so it'd probably be good to talk about what's going on there. So a couple things here. This is enthralling, I know, definition time. So the nouns, it can mean like high respect, like when you respect somebody, or it can be a privilege. It's an honor to do this, or I'm privileged to be able to do this. Or the way that I think of it a lot is it as a verb in regard with respect, or fulfill an obligation, or keep an agreement. When I think about honor, I think about those different types of things. And so with that, and we talk about systems theory, and we talk about family, and it's especially within families, there are, some adults within the family who make the guiding principles, and through various faiths of our current world, a lot of them would say, honor your mother and father in some sort fashion, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah. What does that mean?
Yeah, I was thinking about that issue of how do you honor your parents? What does that look like? And does that mean obey your parents? Is that what honor means, obey them? And I'm thinking about the definition of respect. And part of Bowen theory is to be a separate self in the midst of a group. Self-differentiation, we've used that term before. Part of becoming a self-differentiated person is being a separate person, but also being connected to the group. So, for example, if the group in a family is of one faith, and one decides to be a different faith or no faith at all, is that disrespectful? Is that not honoring the guiding principle, the family name? I think that can be a really difficult challenge for at least the young people that we speak to.
Yeah, especially thinking of it as your mother and your father, the hashtag OG leaders, right? Like, they're the ones who are in charge of the family. They're the ones who are trying to rear you in a way that they view you will be I don't know, contributing member of society, or at least like not living in their basement.
At least to their own society.
Yeah,
which is their own system.
So, like, they are the original leaders, and part of that, I would assume, if you're a leader, you want your children to follow in your footsteps, because if your faith is something that you truly believe is truth, right? That means that it's likely in contradiction to a lot of other ideas that are out there, and so it's not something that you've just stumbled into. Hopefully, it's something you're probably consciously trying to raise your children as.
Yeah.
So it becomes a polarizing concept.
I just have to ask the question, hashtag OG.
Yeah.
He's brought the OG back like before and had that asked the exact same question. So
Yeah, I think it was you asked it last time, Alex. I believe.
Yes, uh-huh.
Yeah,
I didn't listen very
I
well.
think it stands for original gangster, right? Yeah.
okay, so I think the overall question here is we're asking like, can you honor your parents? We're just using this as an example. Or can you honor somebody, whether just a parent or somebody else, and like disagree with them? Is that kind of where you're going with that, John? Maybe.
I would hope so. I hope
They're
the answer is
guiding-
yes.
Yeah.
You know, so a guiding principle is I'm going to be connected to one person, but also consider how I see it. So, you know, using an I statement and thinking through, you might see it this way, but I have this perspective. And it's really hard, especially in a one-down relationship. We gave the example of a parent and child. So I can think of an example of a young person that I was speaking with recently who went to go and fill out a medical form at a doctor's office, and when filling out the medical form, didn't check the faith of the family, but checked a different faith. It may have been no faith at all, and was corrected by the parent that, no, in our household, we are this, you know, and kind of sternly said, this is who we are as a person. And for a young person to deviate from that, a parent might see that as dishonorable, or you are shaming the family name. This is who we are as a family. And so it's difficult in a one-down relationship where one's trying to emerge from the family shadow, and they might see things differently. But then I'm going to go, and then I'm going to stop talking. But from a parent, so I'm a parent. So from a parent's perspective, what do you do if your children or child decides to have a guiding principle that is unhealthy or going to lead to, in your mind, heartache? That's a hard one.
I find it interesting that you talked about even the family name there a little bit. One of the guiding principles of my family was about our last name and what it meant to other people. And so I don't know how many times I was told to, like, you cannot get in trouble because we are public figures, and then you know, what will that do to our name if you decide to do this, that, and the other, you know? And so I've always been very cognizant of my actions because I didn't want to bring dishonor perchance to our name. And so I would like to think too, and it seems like it makes sense to me, that honoring somebody, or bringing honor to somebody, whether that is your family or somebody else, is respecting that person. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, being able to be respectful to that person, but whether you agree with them or not, still holding respect for that person, regardless of their thoughts. And so, I don't know. When I think about honor, maybe you guys can disagree with me here. I think of somebody who is approachable, somebody that is influential, somebody who has those guiding principles, that is, you know, unwavered on their decisions. I don't know. That's when I think of honor. As far as a person, if I was going to describe a person, that's what I would be looking at.
You would describe them as honorable?
Yes, as somebody who's honorable.
So the honorable Alex or the Honorable
Judge
Judge
Judy. Wait.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Judge Purd.
So there must be a reason why they're going to say Honorable Judge Purd.
Yes, from Parks and Rec.
Purd Hapley.
Purd Hapley.
Like,
Yeah.
who the heck is Purd?
This is the way it's going to be.
Great show. Highly recommend it.
So,
I've been chewing on this whole time. You just sort of spoke to the noun version, the honorable, right? As if a title. But I've been chewing on the verb form. Like, what's the difference between respect and honor? And I'm thinking through it. And so tell me what you think of this. When I think of respecting someone, it's giving the least back to them that they are due. Right? Like, everyone deserves some base level of respect, right?
whether they get it or not is...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Does Adolf Hitler deserve respect?
As a human being?
yeah, as a human being, I think he deserves some sort of respect in terms of I don't know, maybe I associate it with like rights, like he has like certain inherent things that are due to him. That doesn't mean he is necessarily respectable. Deserving of respect doesn't mean they are inherently respectable. Maybe. So, I don't know with that. They say that you've lost. What is it? The rule of Hitler. If you bring Hitler out in your argument, you've already lost the argument. So I don't know, John, but that's my first thought.
Sounds like you already lost your argument, John.
Not to immediately discredit you.
Okay, so
I don't know. I'm trying, because I've always heard you should show respect to people. Some people are respectable, but
yeah.
But like when I show respect to my parents, right? And when I think of honor your father and mother, I just assume this like position of being talked down to as an adult to a child, right? Like that's what I envision. But when I think of honoring, I think of giving back to or adding value to or showing value for. So I honor my parents by living in the way that they've taught me to live, or I honor my parents' legacy by maybe doing better and living better than they lived, or I almost view it as an addition. I'm trying to parse that out.
So if I was going to say respect would be like the golden rule.
Yeah.
And honor would be going above and beyond the golden rule. So the golden rule we're talking about, treat others as you'd want to be treated. That would be respect.
Right.
And honor would be like, I'm going to go beyond, I think I should be treated this way. I'm actually going to go beyond that and treat somebody even better than the way that I think I should be treated.
Yeah, like I sit 3 people in front of me. And I'm just making this up on the spot, so it's going to be real bad. But I sit a child in front of me. I sit a judge in front of me, and I sit Adolf Hitler in front of me, right?
If you bring Adolf Hitler into an argument, you've already lost.
Yes, so...
Okay, you got 3 people. Are they looking directly at you or what?
Yeah, they're all looking directly at me. They're all wearing blue, except for Hitler, who has a bow tie. But that's neither here nor there. And so I would look at them, and would you tell anyone to not respect them, right? You might have some people arguing about Adolf Hitler, right? But those other 2, without any other details given,
context,
no one's really going to tell you to disrespect them.
Right.
But if I ask you to honor them, you're going to say, why should I? Like, for what reason? Yeah. Like, and you're definitely not going to do it for anyone who's murdered masses of people, right? Like, you just don't think that way.
It's interesting of hearing us flesh out the difference between honor and respect, and I like to hear what you said about the honor being like respect on steroids, just a little bit extra. Interesting.
Yeah.
Think about this. Can I stop real quick?
Yeah, you can.
So let's talk about tolerance for a second. Ooh. We're in education, Alex and I, and people talk about teaching tolerance. What does it mean to tolerate someone?
Isn't that the lowest common denominator?
It seems like to put up with someone.
Yeah.
I'll put up with your belief. Okay, I'll tolerate the way you believe.
Yeah.
Grudgingly. versus I respect your belief, or
Yeah.
I honor your belief. I really I don't agree with it, but I honor it. I think that's so much more powerful. So the teaching tolerance movement, you need to step up your game
Yeah.
to include honor.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about this before too. The golden rule drives me crazy. I mean, just from a standpoint of just do it. That's why I think that's almost the respect level, and then the honor level is above that. Because as humans, I think we have so much more to offer to people. But that's just one man's thoughts.
It's interesting. So as leaders, right, what does it mean to tolerate someone, to respect someone, and to honor someone, right? If you're tolerating someone, I get these connotations in my head of like impatience or just sort of like, deflecting them aside, as compared to respecting. I get this idea of patience. Like you want a leader to, if you're the follower, if you're in the system and someone's above you and providing direction for you, and you would hope that they would do more than tolerate you. Right. I
think about this, as a father. What do you think of your son? I tolerate him. Man,
Seems like you've had like 17 kids, and he was like the last one.
That's right. Yeah.
Who? Which one? I feel like I've heard that though. Like I can almost like picture somebody being like, "Yeah, I've got like 6 kids."
Or here's the idea: the 12th kid, you name him Tolerance. That's his name. We just call him Tolerance. We tolerate him. Continue. Sorry, Zach.
Yeah. So I mean, where in leadership are we? When I think of honor, I honor my father and mother in that I'm oversimplifying. If they did a bad job with their life, with their parenting of me, with whatever, I feel like if I were to say I'm honoring my father and mother by doing this, it's going to be by doing it in a different way, right? And somehow that's honoring them. But if they did it in a good way, it's going to be in exemplifying what they've taught me. Right? So what does that mean for us as people who are trying to be leaders? What does it mean to
be honorable?
To not
or to give honor?
To give. I'm thinking in the verb form.
Okay.
Right?
To be, yeah. To allow, to honor other people. Is that what you're
what's
saying?
the importance of it? Yeah.
I think of the SCARF model and status, this S piece of the SCARF model. Every human being desires 5 items. S is the status piece. So I think when you honor someone, it helps to increase their status and how they might view themselves in relationship to you, especially as a leader. There's always the leader has the title and has the authority from a hierarchy or a flow chart. But so I think that hits at that status piece and certainly the relatedness piece as well.
And so, I even wrote down here. So I'm going to honor somebody. I think we've established that's going above and beyond of this is how this is the definition we came up with. If you guys have other thoughts, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's not tolerance, and it's a step above that where I want to, treat other people as I want to be treated. It's a step above that. I'm going to treat you more than what I think I should be treated, And so how do you, I guess my question too is like, how do you then do that? Or like, how do you gain honor? How do you, on both flip sides of the coin, although I feel like just, as I talk through this verbal analyzation, seems like if you honor people, you would gain honor in some way of being an honorable person, right? I mean, it would be hand in hand. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'm just thinking through. This podcast is a little different for me, anyways. Going into it of honor and not really having a clear grasp of what honor even was. So, the organic nature of, and for the listeners, I'm not sure what you think about it, but I find that to be really interesting. So when you pose that question, I'm not sure what to do with that yet, but it's an interesting question.
I tie honor. I guess honor is a value, but I look at honor, and in my head, I tie it to values. And so I think, well, I would honor someone who I feel is like beyond reproach, in the sense of like I can't say a single thing bad about them. Like I feel like I should honor them. And we think of movies in that the people who I don't know, the people who live according to their guiding principles or these convictions or these values, I feel like there's honor in that.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause, I was thinking about like what makes somebody honorable, and I think living by those guiding principles, which was our last podcast, would be a great step of establishing honor. But I think there is another piece of it that is going to develop into that SCARF model of saying, okay, I am the leader. Everybody's a leader. We've established that. Everybody influences somebody. But as a leader, with my influence, how can I influence better? And how can I establish somebody else's status, relatedness? How can I improve those things in a way that brings that person honor, which I would assume would lower the anxiety within that system, which in turn would, make things easier all around. I don't know. That's the circle I made. It's like a triangle.
Rounded off triangle.
All inclusive.
Yeah. So guiding principles are things that I've thought through carefully and I've communicated to, and I try to be consistent in those. I think if somebody communicates their guiding principles to another, and I think that in and of itself, if they're well thought out, well thought through, makes someone respect another. I respect someone that does that. Mm-hmm. I think I honor somebody who really lives those out on a consistent basis. So I'm wondering if the respect piece of that is you have guiding principles, you've communicated those, you're on your road to maturity. I think I honor someone who has, I don't want to say the word arrived at maturity, but it sure seems like what they say and what they believe are the same thing.
Well, and my question too is, okay, so they're able to communicate those guiding principles. I mean, I think somewhat of my honor of somebody too would be on their end asking my own guiding principles, and we discuss in guiding principles, and here, maybe not necessarily accepting and agreeing with those, but having the courage and having the curiosity to sit down and say, how about yours? What are your guiding principles, and what makes you tick as a person? And I think that's a difficult question. I mean, the amount of influence you have to have on somebody, in relatedness to somebody might be, I think, it has to be at a certain space. But at the same time, I truly think that people want to talk about what their guiding principles are, and they want to be, they want to have somebody who's going to be curious enough to listen to them through those times and understand those. And so I wonder if there's a piece to it too, where they say, I'm open to listen to what your guiding principles are. And we talked about policies last time. Okay, maybe I'm so open within my, my discussion with you that, yes, I discussed with you my guiding principles. And part of guiding principles is being open with being able to change them. And reciprocating that in some way, I think, is going to bring that honor piece as well.
A hallmark of healthy relationships. Roberta Gilbert speaks of this. People are separate, people are equal, and people are open. Mm-hmm. And what you spoke of there, Alex, is those three elements are there. And when two people can relate to each other separately, equally, and openly, then I think there's this reciprocal giving and receiving of honor from one to another. I think that is the pinnacle of positive relationships.
So separate, equal, and open.
I'm thinking, you talked a little bit ago about you showing how you just respect someone, but that's a little different than honoring someone. Honoring someone who is looking like they've been there. Maybe they're not, but it looks as if they're at some sort of peak, while it may not be the pinnacle. And I think that's interesting when we think about this idea of self and being a solid self. It's someone that you can that you perceive as being rock solid, right? You can interact with them, and regardless of what you do, they're going to keep being them. And however they interact with you, they're not going to budge you. They're not going to force you around. They're going to show you respect, but they're also going to exemplify the things that they think you do well, right? You honor someone by bringing a level of visibility to them, right?
Yeah, I think of the notion of respect. I can respect somebody from a distance. I don't know that I can honor somebody from distance.
Oh, yeah.
I think in order for me to honor somebody, I really have to get a glimpse into who they are as a person.
In a way that's influenced you.
Yeah, so I'm wondering from a leadership perspective, if you want to be honored, if this is your goal, that a person has to be appropriately vulnerable. I think that's an important piece of this.
I think you got to connect. I mean, if we go back to the flag, if I decided I need to respect the flag, that I'll stand and, you know what I mean? And respect the flag and our veterans. Okay, and if I want to honor them, okay, so now when I look at the flag and there's a national anthem, okay, but if I want to honor them, when I see them, I'm going to say something to them instead of, there's a difference there. I want to be open with them and to them and thank them for their service, but also ask them about their service. There's I see what you're saying between respect and honor, and from a distance, that
when
makes a lot of sense.
When I think about your boy camp estate or whatever that was, this idea of like you're living your life differently. That's like the goal of it, right? Like when they say honor those who fell for your freedom, like these people died so that you can live the life you're living now. The change that they're asking for when they say honor is a conscious awareness of someone else having fallen for the liberties that you enjoy. And I think also this subtle expectation that because you have been shown that, to maybe show that to others, right? It's this whole idea, so much ties back to humility, especially when we're always talking about self, but having been shown the courtesy of them sacrificing their life or their time if they've only served and not died. You can't even just say only with that, but having served and still having their life, like they also deserve our honor. And in that, the change that it requires is not so much one that you live differently, but that you live with the awareness of their influence on your life.
Yeah, that even that aspect of the influence on your life is an interesting. Just putting those words together, thinking, in order to give honor to somebody, are you allowing them to influence you on your life? Is that what you're saying?
It means that you are conscious of the influence they had. And so looping back to maybe a comment I said earlier, you have a good parent and you have a bad parent, right? Let's say you have a childhood where your parents were pretty poor, like that you feel like they did everything wrong. You could say that you honor them by saying, I understand that you influenced me, and I understand you had a hard life, and I understand that this happened, and it resulted in that. And so I, being aware of that influence on my life, am going to honor them by doing it differently, per se, their influence. Whereas a good parent, you do that. You say, you have changed my life in a great way.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
And so rather than maybe doing something different, you're still recognizing the influence, but the conclusion is that you're maybe exemplifying their influence in your recognition of how they have been a part of your life.
Yeah, my mind is blown now. I appreciate you doing that.
Hashtag OG.
Yes. Straight from Zach Stahl of Overfunctioning Leadership. Someone make T-shirts.
With what should be on the front of these T-shirts? That's what I want to know.
Honor Zach Stahl. Aware of his influence.
Hashtag OG.
Or a
Hashtag
picture of a bull with the phrase below, honor a bull.
Oh, that's funny.
I really just want to say I don't get it, but clearly I do. Well, any other discussions about honor, gentlemen? I feel like we fleshed it out pretty well. I feel like I have a better understanding of what honor is.
I do too.
Something definitely that I know myself just based off my family of origin of our last name means something, and something that I want to be better at is being honorable to people. But yeah. Cool. Awesome. Good conversation. Well, did you have something?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just
Still
looked at
thinking.
me. Okay. So, podcast. You can reach us on the YouTubes, on Simplecast, on iTunes, Google Play, and it is now just the Overfunctioning Leadership. We're only having podcasts now. If you like to find out your Brumbles and your Zammers and your chat sessions, you got to go onto the YouTubes to watch those.
They're all still there,
Yep.
but we know you like looking at us in those more than you like hearing us, so we're listening to the demands of the people.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyways, little shout outs here, gentlemen.
Shout out to Jesse Huffstetler for his rainbow limiter. John, do you have any idea what that does?
It limits something.
Yeah, I know you're just skipping
I
over
think
all those.
treble.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
limits treble.
It limits treble? Or did you mean to say trouble?
No, it limits treble.
Treble.
Treble, which is the part that's the high-pitched bass.
With the little S shape that's not an S? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you call it the rainbow limiter?
Yeah.
Okay. That's also incorrect, but that's cool.
The starfish limiter.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think we wrap this bad boy up. I am Renner and Colin.
I'm the Honorable John.
And I'm just Zach.
Okay. Well, with that, we'll see you later.